Your order online and we'll have it shipped right to your front door. With so many possibilities, it's hard not to shop.
As a 3-time international award-winning restaurant, Joe's New York Pizza uses only the freshest and best available ingredients. From giant slices of hand-tossed pie to calzones, strombolis, fingers, and wings, Joe's serves all your favorites. Stop in for a slice at one of their 2 Las Vegas locations at Paradise and Harmon or South Las Vegas Boulevard, or you can check out their menu at joesnewyorkpizzalv.com.
Whether you're a corporate executive, on a family vacation, or just passing through, St. George Inn & Suites will meet your specific needs. It's conveniently located near restaurants, shopping, and movie theaters. St. George Inn & Suites offers a variety of room types, 2 fabulous pools and jacuzzis, a fitness center, a free full hot buffet breakfast, and laundry facilities. To make your booking, call 435-673-6661 or book online at stgeorgeinnhotel.com. You need to stop in Southern Utah? Make that stop at St. George Inn & Suites.
STN Sports is the only sports betting app you need this season. STN Sports has it all. In-play betting, mobile parlay cards, the Play Plus card to fund and withdraw from anywhere in Nevada, and the latest lines on every game. STN Sports even lets you earn rewards on every bet. Safe and easy betting from your phone or tablet. Go to stationcasinosports.com or sign up at any Station Casino, Fiesta Wildfire, or the El Cortez. Details at the sportsbooks.
A great time! Your entertainment destination, the South Point, invites you to experience the ultimate great time under one roof. Bowling, dancing, a live show, a movie, delicious dining, and one of South Point's 11 restaurants. So much to see, so much to do. You won't know where to start first. This week, make it a South Point week and discover for yourself why the South Point is your entertainment destination for a great time.
Best of Las Vegas winners each of the last 2 years. Glazed Donuts is a family business. Taste the passion and quality in each delectable handmade donut. Experience amazing fresh donuts at Glazed Donuts, located at 6545 South Fort Apache Road on the southwest corner of Sunset. Glaze is open every day from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you're interested in large orders, please call them at 702-246-2888. Follow Glaze on Facebook and Instagram, where they're showing off all their delicious treats. And check them out at glazedonutslv.com.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
What's up, Las Vegas? Happy Tuesday. It is. I'm so glad that you joined us. I gotta say, I wore a sweater last night. It's getting a little cold outside, man. It's getting a little windy, but that's all right. All right, I'm not gonna complain. It's like 20 degrees where I grew up. Lots to get to today. A lot to go over. Big win last night for the Vegas Golden Knights, by the way, against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Big win for the Knights. We'll get to that a little bit later. I mentioned this horrendous story, heartbreaking, horrendous story of 49-year-old Metro Police Officer Truong Thai with the force, 23-year veteran, losing his life a few weeks ago. Terrible. I want to do what I can to help the family and friends and talk about his legacy. Obviously a hero. He risked his life and cost him his life serving. His fiance is Rosalie McDormand Thai. I can't even imagine the pain and the grief that she's had to go through the last couple of weeks, but she's nice enough to be joining us here in hour number 2, and I want to talk to her, talk about his legacy. As I said, put forth the GoFundMe page and how the community can help in this very, very, very difficult time. We'll get to that a little bit later on in the program. But, it's Tuesday, and Thomas Moskal, the former big-time Clark County attorney, is here in studio. We didn't have him here last week because he was in court working so darn hard. But Thomas joining us in studio today. Thomas, good to see you. Were you in court this morning?
No.
You were not in court this morning?
No.
Oh, okay.
Took the morning off.
I
I had to
see.
prepare really hard for your show.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
All-nighter, man.
I hear that a lot.
Bags under my eyes.
I hear that a lot. People need to prepare for the show. No, I understand. So we're going to talk about Brittany Griner at the bottom of the hour. News breaking this morning in her appeal. She was not successful. And at a minimum, 8 years.
As goes with most appeals.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation. We'll get into the details of it, and I want to get your legal perspective on it at the bottom of the hour. Not looking good for Brittany Griner unless a deal is struck soon.
Exchange a couple KGB agents for her.
Yeah, well, Biden's going to have to do something.
Exchange a couple KGB agents?
I'm not saying
Brittany
that.
Griner?
He's already tried to exchange this arms dealer, and they refused that.
So the arms dealer's not enough.
No, that's not enough.
Like, he's a WNBA basketball player. We cannot be giving up.
No, I agree. No, listen
to national security.
Listen,
I secure her back.
Listen, as much as I want her to get out of there, and I feel horrible for her, I agree with you 100%. She screwed up. You have to respect the law, whether you agree with it or not. You have to respect the laws in another country, especially an evil.
Well, it's not even about the laws in another country. Right now, she's a political pawn right now because of what's going on in Ukraine.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, until we budge on what's going on in Ukraine, Putin's not listening to anything we want.
You could not choose in our lifetime, the last 40 years, a worse time for Brittany Griner to be breaking a law in Russia. You could not choose a worse time than right now. I don't believe she's going to spend 8 years, and we'll get to this a little bit later, but I don't believe she's going to be spending 8 years behind bars. I think eventually there's going to be some sort of deal by the end of 2024. At some point in Biden's administration, they're going to strike a deal. She's going to come home. And when that does happen, it'll be great. But at the same time, I hope that the message is sent, whether it be Brittany Griner or a member of her family. Brittany made a mistake. She didn't deserve this, but she made a mistake. And let this be a lesson to any American going to any other country that you need to know the law of the land. You can't make a mistake like that. She's not an evil murderer. She didn't commit a serious crime, but in Russia, that is a serious crime. You have to respect other laws. You have to understand what the other laws are, even if it means not doing what Otto Warmbier did. And that was a horrible story. That was terrible. I mean, all he really did was take down a poster, a political poster. But in North Korea, if you do something like that, it could kill you. And it did. And I feel horrible for Otto Warmbier. I feel horrible for Hey, guess what? Don't fly your kids to North Korea. Let's just start there, okay? Don't go to North Korea. Don't go to Russia. Don't go to any country where it is an evil, murderous regime running the country, especially if you're an American. A lot of these evil, murderous regimes that run they don't like Americans very much. So why would you go there?
When I used to travel around, we'd put the Canadian flag on our backpacks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, overseas, it's hard for them to tell the difference in our accents between America and Canada. And Canada is pretty neutral. So you're a lot safer that way when I would travel around. And when I backpacked through Asia, I was in Thailand for a little bit, and some locals told me, expats, they said, whatever you do, don't make a sarcastic remark about the king. I mean, it's the same thing as Brittany Griner. You'll be in prison for a long time. Pretty much do whatever you want in Thailand, but do not do that. And so, yeah, you got to know the laws of the country that you're operating in.
I agree. That's interesting. You never told me that you had a backpack with a Canadian.
Yeah, well, that's pretty well known amongst American backpackers.
You got to start.
What you don't want to do is show up to the bar scene and start the USA chant.
Yeah.
USA,
no,
USA,
you don't
USA.
Want to do that.
Oh man,
you
you
don't
get side eyes. Even from the Americans traveling, they're like, "What are you doing, man?"
Speaking of which, you just reminded me of something. I did meet Apollo Creed. Forgot his real name.
Carl Weathers.
Yeah, Carl Weathers. I met him at the Raiders game the other day.
Oh man, I'm jealous.
So I'm going downstairs after the game, and to do some interviews, and I see him on the field level. I'm sure they gave him a VIP, whatever. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, holy crap! It's Apollo Creed, man.
Well, I don't remember him as Apollo Creed so much. I mean, of course, we know that character, but I always Dylan,
Happy
from
Gilmore.
Predator, Dylan.
That's a good one.
Remember?
Of course. So I went up to him. I said, when are we going to get a Happy Gilmore too, my man? I shake his hand. Super nice guy. And he laughs and he looks at me. He's like, they pay me. I'm there. That's what he said to me. It's so funny. It's Apollo Creed, man. I grew
Action
up.
Jackson.
Yeah, he is awesome. He is awesome. And he made a nice career for himself. played in the NFL for a couple of years. He played for the Raiders. That's why he was there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he played for the Raiders for a few years, and then he turned into one heck of an acting career. I mean, the guy's in some iconic films. Obviously, everybody remembers him from Rocky, right? Everybody remembers him from that movie. But by the way, I didn't even tell people, coming up here at the bottom of the hour, I do want to do a little, I guess you could call it dating website segment with you.
With me.
Yeah.
You've been on the website?
I've been doing that. I'm going to kind of grade some of these websites and give you some of my dating horror stories. Are you ready for that? Coming up at the bottom of the hour. And then coming up in hour number 2, we'll get back to the Brittany Griner story. Sound good?
Okay.
All right. I want to start off with you, Thomas. Your experience, obviously, you were Clark County's top DUI prosecutor, and now you defend, people who have DUIs. So I figured, there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of legal questions for you with your expertise. And I want to start off by asking you about this. There's a lot of people that struggle emotionally with getting a DUI. They're scared, they're nervous, even if you don't harm somebody, right? If you don't even harm physically yourself, you just get pulled over, you get a DUI. People are worried, they're scared, and rightfully so. They don't know what their rights are. So what advice would you give people on how to emotionally handle a DUI?
Yeah. So a lot of clients come through the door and they are an emotional wreck. A lot of times they've never had any experience with the criminal justice system. So I would say you need to get informed. That's the first step. Get informed about what the law is, what the legal process is, get informed about what the potential penalties are. And that's going to absolutely lessen your stress in this situation. Knowledge is power. And so you want to get an attorney that's going to put the time in to walk you through what that process is, because it could take a couple of years for it to close up. You can't be in a state of anxiety for 2 years.
Gotcha. All right. So what happens when it's your first time getting a DUI here in the state of Nevada? What happens?
Well, if you're convicted, and you got to remember the goal is to not end up with a DUI conviction. But if you end up convicted, there are minimum penalties that you face by law. And one of those is at least 2 days in jail. But I'll tell you, in my time practicing as a prosecutor and defense attorney, rarely ever see that imposed, even though it's mandatory. The judges don't impose that. You will also have to pay a fine. The minimum fine is $400. The max is $1,000.
That's not too bad. I thought it was worse than that.
Yeah. And so this what we go back to is the information, right? You think the whole weight of the criminal justice system is falling on your shoulders, but that's not the case. Mm-hmm. And lastly, the mandatory thing in your sentence is you have to do a DUI course, which is alcohol disorder use, substance abuse class. And you can usually do those online. And if you have a 0.1 blood alcohol content, you might get enrolled into a pretty rigorous specialty court therapy program, treatment program for a year. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much the worst case scenario. Those are the minimums. In practice, you usually end up with about a $600 fine. You usually work it out with the prosecutor. The judges follow the recommendations of the parties. $600 fine. You end up doing that DUI class online. You end up doing a victim impact panel, which is you're going to go watch somebody talk about losing a loved one DUI. That's supposed to make people not do DUI in the future, hit them emotionally. And you'll usually have a suspended jail sentence hanging over your head. If you don't get that stuff done, you usually have 30 days to 6 months hanging over your head. You don't show up to court, you don't pay your fine, you don't take the class in a timely fashion, you will end up in jail.
Gotcha. Okay. I thought it's not the end of the world, basically. If it's one time you don't hurt anybody, it's not World War III. It's not the end of the world, what we're telling you. But
that's the thing, is there's a lot of normal people that get DUIs. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can even look at political figures. I mean, even Nevada Supreme Court Justice Periguri, his wife got a DUI.
Nancy Pelosi's husband
got a DUI. Yeah. But
Matt Gaetz probably 10 DUIs, but that's another story.
Justice Periguri's wife gets a DUI out there near the Red Rock, rear end somebody, no injuries. Yeah. And the news tried to get into the courtroom to film what happened, and she just got that fine that I talked about, those 2 classes, and she took her conviction. The news cameras couldn't even get in the courtroom. And my boss at the time, Brian Rutledge, supervisor of the DUI unit, they were like, "What? How come you didn't go harder on Justice Periguri's wife?" And he just gave the statement to the media that she got the same treatment as any citizen would have gotten.
Which is the only thing you could really ask for. You want everybody to be treated equally. So can a DUI be dismissed in Nevada?
In theory, yes. Prosecutors can dismiss a case. A judge can dismiss a case if there's serious misconduct going on. Mm-hmm. But in practice, you rarely see a dismissal. And that's because prosecutors, they're not in the business of dismissing cases. You would have to apply serious pressure to a prosecutor to secure a dismissal, meaning you'd have to go to trial, or you would have to file some litigation, start challenging all these legal issues in the case. But the fact is, when prosecutors know they have problems proving the case, they just make an offer, a plea deal to something lesser than a DUI, and they get what they can out of the case. And in my experience as a prosecutor, defense attorneys jump immediately. Whenever you say someone it could end up in a non-DUI disposition at the end, they jump at it. So unless you have an attorney that really knows what he's doing and is willing to be super aggressive, even when offered a plea deal to something less than a DUI, no, you're never going to see a dismissal. And I never had to dismiss a case as a prosecutor because, frankly, attorneys, when they get a client, the more time they spend fighting these issues and putting a trial on, they think that client gets less and less profitable.
Gotcha. By the way, if you have any questions for Thomas Moskal, who is a DUI attorney, this is what he specializes in. Top prosecutor here in Clark County, you can give us a call at 702-221-7283. Again, 702-221-7283. Oh, it's your friend is on the line, your buddy John. John, I'm sorry, who is it?
It's Doug.
I can't read
Doug.
lips. It's hard for me to read lips. I'm not a good lip reader. 702-221-7283. Doug, thanks for calling in. What's up?
Hey, I was just wondering what would happen if a commercial driver's license if you got a DUI in your personal car.
That's one of the biggest ramifications of DUI. It's not a serious offense, but for normal people, it could be real serious in their life. It could disrupt their employment. So, yeah, commercial truck drivers, once you get a DUI conviction, you're usually subject to background checks from the companies that you work for. And will you necessarily have your commercial driver's license revoked or suspended? Maybe not, but your employer might look into it. Really, the whole license revocation suspension thing is separately handled by the DMV, and there's DMV hearings involved. And so they still have to prove stuff against you at the DMV hearing. And to be honest with you, it's a lot harder to win the DMV hearing as a defendant than it is to criminal trial, because you have all these rights in a criminal trial in court. And at the DMV hearing, it's just an administrative hearing. There's not really rules of evidence. But when I take a case, and most defense attorneys take a case, we handle the DMV portion and also the criminal thing. So they're separate. But ultimately, you want to try and get that DUI case dropped down to a non-DUI disposition for your background checks. It's still not going to look good because, like I said, a reckless driving with the CDL is going to be problematic. So you'd want somebody to be very aggressive and try to get really challenge the case, like challenge it in all aspects to get it dropped down even further from a reckless driving.
Doug, anything else?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for the call, Doug. We appreciate you. 702-221-7283. Get advice from the man right here. It's like free legal advice. That's always a good thing. I like free anything, especially legal advice.
Yeah, everybody likes the free advice. And look, here's the thing is, especially with people's licenses in employment, if you drive for a living, a DUI has serious ramifications for you.
Sure.
And even if you get a disposition to a reckless driving, like I was telling Doug, that's still going to show up on your background check. Yep. The difference is when you get a DUI on your record, you can't seal your record for 7 years after your case closes. You get a reckless driving on your record, you could seal that in 1 year. So there's a lot of benefits and ins and outs to it. But yeah, if you're driving for a living, it's like, man, you really don't want to take a risk and be out there on the road.
One of my questions that I want to ask you here is, say you're a bartender at a bar. There's a guy that's heavily drinking. You keep giving him drinks. You don't cut him off. You see he grabs his keys and he goes to his car. He ends up getting a DUI, ends up killing somebody or injuring somebody, maybe even kills himself.
I know where you're going with
There's
this.
liability, right? There's liability.
As a bartender?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
There's not.
Absolutely
not. How about
not.
the owner of the bar, not the bartender?
Absolutely not. Not in Nevada. So there's what they call dram shop laws.
Yeah.
And in some states, you would be liable. But Nevada, we've offered a lot of protections. Why? Well, we have the casino industry out here, right?
Yeah.
And so they have made laws where, no, there is no civil liability on the restaurant or bar for serving you. And that's a law that we have on the books. It's by statute.
So
but there are a lot of states where liability would
Florida.
fall on the bar owner.
Tiger Woods owns a bar restaurant in Florida. I don't remember the county. I don't even remember the outcome of the case. But what I do remember is that they served him a lot of drinks. He got drunk and he killed somebody. And the victim's family sued the restaurant. I don't know what was this was years ago. But I remember that case made national news because Tiger Woods owns the bar slash
Right. Well, like I
restaurant.
said, most states would allow that, but in Nevada, we have what's called the dram shop law. We protect the casinos, the bars, the restaurants from that.
What a shocker that the casinos are protected because they're not making any money at all. But anyway, is Nevada a zero tolerance state? That was my next question for you.
So a lot of people ask that if Nevada is a zero tolerance state, meaning if you have any alcohol in your system, are you going to be guilty of DUI? And the answer is no, it's not. The legal limit is 0.08. So to be DUI, you have to be over 0.08 on a test taken within 2 hours or 0.08 at the time they pull you over. Now, if you have a very low tolerance for alcohol, like I myself don't drink very often, you could be at a 0.04. But if it's very apparent that you're under the influence and your ability to drive is being affected, you are technically DUI. Now, do the prosecutors usually file charges on people under 0.08? No, they don't. But technically, if you're under the influence at all, it doesn't matter where your limit is. So we're not a zero tolerance state, but it's a zero tolerance as far as you being under the influence. If you can drive on a 0.04, okay, then you'll be fine.
How long does it take a drunk driving case to get to court?
Well, this might surprise you. So on a misdemeanor DUI, the first thing I tell clients when they come in is be prepared for this to take years. And they go, well, I want to get this done as quickly as possible.
Right.
Well, Brian, if you get arrested for DUI, and let's say you take a blood test, the prosecutors have a year to file your case against you. That's the statute of limitations. They have to file it within 1 year. And so they have to send your blood to the lab to get tested. And the lab is really backed up. So it's not uncommon for a blood test to take 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or even right up to that 1 year point for them to even get the test results back. So a year out from your DUI, you finally get charged. And then once you get charged, well, now we start the legal process of defending the case. And I tell clients, any negotiation you go into, think about buying a car.
Yeah.
If you absolutely have to want to buy that car that day, are you getting the best deal possible? You know, on a house, you want to be the party that's able to take your time and not jump at the first offer, because the prosecutors, they're incentivized to try and get cases done early.
Right.
And so they're going to throw offers that might entice you, but you want to look at everything. And I always said this as a prosecutor, cases don't age like wine. I mean, if you mean it gets better with age, they don't.
Yeah.
You know, they get worse. You know, witnesses, the police officers quit, move, retire. The nurses move, retire. The witnesses who were at the scene, they tend memories fade. So those things get better for the defense. So it's actually better as a defendant to take your time with the DUI. So I've seen cases misdemeanor cases take 2 to 3 years before they're resolved.
That's a long time. Yeah. Some things don't get better with age. I was just looking at myself in the mirror today. I have some gray hairs on my goatee. It's very sad. So yes, I'm not like wine. That's for sure. I got a listener who sent me a message that just said, is there a difference between DUI and DWI, driving under the influence and driving while intoxicated? Is there any difference?
Well, that's just a nomenclature from state to state. Some states have OVI, operating vehicle under the influence. So no, there's no difference. We call it DWI, DUI.
Gotcha.
It's really falls under the same crime. NRS 484C.110. You're driving under the influence under one of those theories of liability.
I figured that was the answer to that one. I think I know the answer to this one, but I need to ask. It's not legal to drive high in Nevada, right?
So interestingly, the legislature just made a change in 2021 as far as marijuana goes. And so there's no legal limit on marijuana in your system anymore. It's kind of like what I was talking about with alcohol. As long as you're not under the influence of it to where your ability to drive is impaired, you're okay. Now, if you're defining high as you are under the influence, like you're really high, of course, that's going to be illegal. And that goes for pills, even things that you're prescribed. Just because you have a prescription doesn't mean that you can drive under the influence of that drug. It's incumbent upon you not to be under the influence of that drug when you get behind the wheel.
Gotcha. Okay. Is there a breathalyzer for drugs in Nevada?
Currently in use, no. But there is in development, and there are companies that are trying to pitch breathalyzers for marijuana. But currently, no, they can't breathalyze you for drugs. And so I would always say this to people, friends of mine. Look, if you're driving and you know that, let's say you have a prescription for Valium or something, you know, you took a Xanax yesterday. Maybe some of that is still in your system. It would be best for you to take the breath test, right? Because if you the police officer says, do you want a blood test or a breath test? And you take a blood test, when it goes to the lab, they could reveal that you actually have more than just alcohol in your system. And
Right.
so you might not have been charged with DUI. Maybe you were at a .04 on alcohol. But
Right.
now that the pills are involved also, well, now you actually strengthen the DUI case against you because you chose the blood test.
Gotcha. He is Thomas Moskal, the former DA here in Las Vegas, top prosecutor here in Clark County, and now represents his clients that are charged with DUI. All right, Thomas. So we got a lot more stuff to talk about this hour and next hour, as I mentioned in hour number 2. I know, Thomas, you've worked very closely with Metro over the course of your career, and anytime we lose a fallen officer, it's just tragic. It's horrible. The officer that we lost just a few weeks ago, it's just terrible. Truong Thai, 49 years old, was on the force for 23 years. In fact, he was passionate, his colleagues say, in training young officers. Sounded like a great guy, obviously a hero. His fiance, Rosalie, is going to be joining us in studio in hour number 2. I just want to do anything I can, and I know you do too, to help the family and the friends of this hero, this fallen officer. So we'll talk about. By the way, I did invite Joe Lombardo to come in. I said, if you can take a little time away from your day to attacking Steve Sisolak, to maybe come in and help this woman and talk about this fallen officer. Did not hear back from him. So not surprising there.
What about Steve Sisolak? You ask him to come in, take some time out of his day?
I did not ask the governor.
Oh, he's so biased one way.
No,
I'm just playing with you.
Well,
man.
no, but I would say this.
Joe Lombardo's the sheriff.
Joe Lombardo's the sheriff. So not to say that I wouldn't love the governor in as well. And I'm sure if I had invited him, he might have said yes.
He's on your show before.
He has been on this show before. Joe Lombardo has not. I've interviewed Joe Lombardo before when I was a reporter. Need to go through the laundry list of people that refuse to do my show. By the way, I'm not Tucker Carlson. I'm not God's gift to radio. I understand if people don't want to come on, that is their right. Sigal Chattah was supposed to come on the show last week. She refused and canceled.
Oh, I thought she was on.
She was supposed to come on Monday, and then she canceled because she claimed that she had a conversation with Joe Lombardo, and Lombardo refused to do my show. So now she's refusing. That was her excuse, which is ridiculous. Anyway, let's take another phone call before we go to break. 702-221-7283. Let's go to John. John, what's going on, man?
Hey, John. Or hey, Brian. It's John. That gentleman that called in about the CDL DUI.
Yes.
It is the legal for a normal citizen, like he was saying, was 0.08.
Yeah.
If you carry a CDL, it is 0.4.
Oh,
okay.
So the standard is much higher.
Half.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Now, if you get caught having a CDL, and believe it or not, if you get caught on a bicycle drunken driving with a CDL, you're done.
I agree with that. I'm actually glad they have those laws in place, because I think you even have a higher responsibility when you drive for a living, right? I'm sure you agree, John.
Right. And once you get one, you can pretty much hang your career up.
Yeah.
You're not going to drive for anybody, any big corporation.
Yeah.
Is not going to touch you.
And you know what? I agree. I agree with that. You could be a cab driver. You could be an Uber driver. You could be a pizza delivery guy. If you're driving for a living, I think, listen, the standard should be high for everybody, but even higher when you drive for a living. John, I appreciate you calling in and explaining that to us. Thank you so much, sir.
No problem.
All right. You have a good one. Thank you, John. Yeah, I mean, John's absolutely 100% right, and I agree. I agree with that. I agree with those laws. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. We're going to have some fun next segment. Going to talk. Some people are going to vomit in their mouth. I'm going to give you not explicit stories, but some funny dating stories I've had over the years, 20 years, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the dating websites that I've been on, and I'm going to grade them. Have you ever been on any dating website, Thomas?
I will plead the fifth.
Okay, well, that's a yes. Okay, so
see, and that's what they do in court too. Someone pleads the fifth. It's like, oh, well, he definitely was going to answer yes to that.
That's a yes. All right, so we'll take a break, but I will share some of my horrific stories on some of these dating websites. But I will be honest, as I always am, and I will also give you some of the better websites that have quality people. Depends what you're looking for, I guess. We'll have a little fun with this. We'll take a little break. I promise you guys are going to laugh when we come back. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. Pushing the limits on a Tuesday. Why do people text me and call me when I'm on the way? It's so annoying.
They love being annoyed.
I hate it. I hate it. And I hate all of you. Leave me alone.
You're the feeling.
Anyway, welcome back to the show. As I mentioned, coming up at the top of the hour, calling Officer Truong Thai. Studio, checking out the GoFundMe information, talk about his legacy. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at Sahara West Urgent and Primary Care, located right down the street here at Sahara and Jones. I was in and out of there in like 20 minutes. They got me on the testosterone therapy. I need to get another testosterone jump, by the way.
You're feeling the need for it?
I'm feeling the need. Yeah, like a junkie. I need it. I need it. But no, in all seriousness, they're awesome. You don't even need an appointment. Give them a call, though, 702-248-0554. Visit them online at SaharaWestUrgentCare.com. All right, so anybody that knows me pretty well, I don't need to give my whole story, Thomas, but I was in a relationship for 5 years. I break up with my ex-girlfriend. I move out here to Vegas in my early 20s. I literally don't know one person out here. I come out here and I said, all right, let's try the dating website. Let's give it a try. Let's see what we can do. I believe the first website that I ever tried was Match.com. It is a website where I think it's a fee of like, I don't know.
I did Match.com like 15 years ago.
So I was right. Okay. Because you said you pled the fifth, and now you're responding.
Well, pleading the fifth just makes me look guilty, so I might as well come out with it. Right?
If only
I don't want anybody insinuating that I was up on Grindr or whatever.
Were you on Grindr?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm
not even going to plead the fifth on
it. Wait.
No.
There was a pause.
That's an emphatic.
That was a pregnant pause.
I was in shock.
Tina Titus calls that a pregnant pause. Yeah, that was a pregnant pause. That was a weird pause there. Okay. Go with my poker read on this one. I don't know if I believe you, but I'll give you the benefit of that. You're not on Grindr. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Anyway, Match.com was my first website.
I like that you throw that caveat out there.
Yeah. Match.com was my first one. And then I discovered a website called Fish.com, which completely ruined my life. I went on that website. The thing about Match is you have to pay money. 25, 30 guys have to pay like $30 a month.
Works out the worst for us.
I agree. For the most part, I do feel like if you're paying a fee, you get a higher quality of people. eHarmony is a complete scam, by the way. All these levels of compatibility. No, it's not. They just find a chick that is near your age that lives near you. There's no levels of compatibility. That guy's a liar. That's a fraud.
You on eHarmony? I thought that's for elderly people.
For like 3 weeks I was on there, and I realized it was such a fraud. It was anyway. So I've been on Plenty of Fish. I've been on Match. I've been on JDate. I've been on Tinder. I've been on
JDate.
Yeah.
Oh.
I went Tinder. Like there are a bunch of hookers on there. I got to tell you, man. Bumble.
Shots fired.
Yeah, Bumble. All right, I'll give you some. Listen, I've been in this town for.
How do you know
years.
there's hookers on Tinder? I need to know. How do you know this?
Because when we have a match and all their pictures are half-naked pictures, and the first thing they say to me is, "How many roses can you afford?" That usually means to me that they're probably a hooker.
Oh, is that the lingo? Roses?
Roses.
Instead of what, dollars?
And I tell them I'm not a gentleman. I don't give women roses. That's usually my response. But you can tell, man. You can tell right away. So one of my first disaster
That's
dating.
good to know. Roses.
I'm going to give you my first dating story, and then I'm going to give you a couple funny ones after that I think you're going to appreciate, Thomas. And then I want you to tell me which one is your favorite. I'm 22 years old. I just moved to Vegas. I met a chick on Match.com. We meet for a couple drinks. Absolutely beautiful. We have a good chemistry, or at least I think we do. We're getting along great. And she's like, "What do you feel like doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just moved here, man. And you tell me." She's like, "Let's go to a strip club." Again, I'm not 42 like I am now. I'm 22 years old. I just got to Vegas, right? I'm a 22-year-old stupid kid. Some people would make the argument I'm still a stupid kid, and you're probably right. But anyway, I say, yeah, all right, let's do it. Let's go. We went to a piece of crap strip club that used to be on the Boulder Highway called The Library. Folks, this wasn't a library, and there weren't any hot librarians there. Anyway, we get there, and we're sitting near the stage and doing what people do at strip clubs, tipping and that sort of thing. A couple minutes go by, and we're having a good time. We're having fun. She gets on stage with the stripper. And I'm like, what just happened? She just got on stage with her. She takes her shirt off. She takes her bra off. She's topless. This is a first date. This is somebody I just met. She's now topless with 100 men watching her. And I'm like, what just happened here? I'm trying to put things through in my head. Like, what are we doing? Like, what's going on here? Is this chick crazy? Like, what's going on? She gets off the stage, accepts tips, by the way. Picked up a couple dollar bills that people threw at her. I'm like, that's interesting. Get a taxi on that. And she whispers in my ear, by the way, honey, I didn't tell you my shift starts here in an hour. that was my first date.
That's your first online date ever?
I still talk to her as friends. Yes. First date. She's no longer at the library because that place doesn't exist. I had a very bad Plenty of Fish experience that I would like to share with all of you. And I don't think I've ever shared this story on the radio before. A few of my friends know it. Beautiful Asian lady that I'm talking to on Plenty of Fish. We talked for a while. We never talked on the phone, but we were talking on this website, sending mail back and forth for a good 2 or 3 weeks. And I just said, hey, why don't we meet for sushi? Let's grab sushi, and appeared to be very pretty. And she said yes. I'm like, great. We exchanged numbers, and we meet. And I'm the first to arrive. As I see her going through, I said, hi, are you Jessica? I think that was her name, allegedly. Yes. Deep voice. I look and I notice that there is an Adam's apple there. Does not look like her pictures. I notice that she has bigger hands than I have. It's never a good sign. I shake her hand, and right away in my head, I'm thinking to myself, I'm not sure this is a woman. I think this is a man. I've never said that about any other date I've ever been on. I have no problem and no personal issues with transgenders. I don't care what you do with your body. I'm just not into it myself. I'm not sexually attracted to it. Probably something you should have told me. At this point, I'm completely convinced that this is not a woman. We sit down at the table. You have any kids? No. What do you do for work? And I don't even remember what you do for work. No kids. You ever been married?
Construction.
No. Yeah, probably. So at this point, I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure the person that is sitting across from me has a penis. So that being said, I get up. I'm feeling a little nauseous. I go into the restroom, and I'm panicking. This was like 10, 15 years ago. I probably didn't handle this as well as I should have. I get back to the table. We didn't order anything. I said, I'm sorry. I'm not feeling good, which was, by the way, true. I wasn't lying to her or him. And I left. I said I wasn't feeling good. I didn't see anything mean to her or him. And then an hour later, I text her, him, and I say, can you please be honest with me? Are you really a guy? She doesn't deny it. She tells me to go F off. How do I describe this on the radio? She sends me a picture. I'm pretty sure I know what a woman looks like naked and what parts are real and what parts are not real. The picture she sent me did not look like a woman. I will leave it at that. I don't know what that was. What was that?
Breaking news.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Your timing was a little off on that.
I know.
Yeah. That's okay. And that was the end of it. And that was a nightmare. So now I've said to myself, I need to talk to somebody on the phone first before I meet them. I'm pretty sure if I talk, not to say that if you're transgender, you don't sound like a woman, if you're, but that's my policy now. I told that to a few friends and I've never heard the end of it. And that's how that situation went. Do you think I handled that wrong?
You're asking me if I think you handled the situation
Yeah, what would
wrong?
you do? You'd never get in that situation, but if you did, what would you do if you meet somebody?
Well, I have a couple questions first.
Oh boy.
I mean, you saw pictures.
No, we did not make out.
You saw pictures before you met up, right?
Yes, I did. Didn't looked. I guess they were airbrushed or different, or maybe she was a ton of makeup. But this was what I thought was a very good looking woman. And then when I saw him, it was not.
Okay.
Did you
actually
opinion,
sit down and have dinner?
We didn't even get to order yet. I just left. I got sick. I got nauseous. I got sick to my stomach.
You just left right out of the restaurant.
No, I got my stomach was twirling, man. I couldn't even eat. I was frightened. I don't care what people do with their body. I just don't want to be on a date with somebody like that. That's all.
And that was Plenty of Fish?
Yes, that was Plenty of
And that's
Fish.
a free site.
Yes, correct. I met a girl on Tinder about 8 or 9 years ago. And we dated for a few months. And I'm at her place. She cooks me dinner. And then she starts crying.
Hold on. Tinder, you said, is full of hookers.
Yeah, this one wasn't a hooker.
This one was different.
This one wasn't a hooker. Maybe
Okay.
1 out of 10 or not. But anyway, I met her for, we dated for a few months. And this time we're pretty much boyfriend, girlfriend. She starts crying. And as she starts crying, I say, what's wrong? What's going on? I'm married. And I said, what? I said, where's your husband? He's in Afghanistan fighting the war.
Mm.
And I freaked out. I threw a dish down and I'm like, are you effing kidding me? I felt horrible for her husband. And I said, I don't want to ever talk to you again. And she texted me a couple days later, hey, do you want to hang out? I said, are you crazy? I just blocked her number. But I have situations that are even worse than that.
Well, so with that, look, I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, biggest naval base in the world, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of girls there whose men go on deployment, and it's rampant, man. I mean, these guys are gone for 6 months. They're on tours overseas, and their women are just wilding out over here.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you see a lot of that, man. And a lot of these guys get married right before they leave.
Yeah.
Maybe for insurance purposes, maybe for whatever it is, housing purposes. But man, what do they say? These girls ain't loyal.
No, that was difficult. All right. So I was, this is not a dating website story. I met somebody at Town Square. Okay. So I'm at Town Square. And it was ladies' night. I think Wednesday night. I'm trying to remember. Blue Martini. They used to do that. I don't know if they still do that.
Oh, you know.
I really don't. I haven't been there for years. I really don't. Met this.
Put my poker read on you.
What is a beautiful black woman? BBW? Is that what they call it?
See, no, yeah. Well, it's both, because that could be either
I don't know.
bigger, beautiful woman, or
she wasn't big
black woman. Either way.
If you need to know what
she wasn't
what
big.
the acronyms mean in the porn world,
Boy,
we got your
just
specialist
Numchuck
right here,
knew
your
that.
expert.
I'm on that.
Numchuck knew that immediately.
I mean, he
That's
chimed
interesting,
in
isn't it?
like, yeah.
His eyes lit up. Anyway,
If you ever need a lifeline on a question like that on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you know who you're calling.
so I meet this woman, okay, and she's not big. She's not that there's anything wrong with that either, but she is unbelievably beautiful. And I don't usually go up to women at bars. It's not what I do. Started talking to her. We had a great conversation. We had drinks, and we dated for 3 months, and we were pretty much boyfriend, girlfriend. we were hanging out like 3 times a week. Great chemistry. She was a lot of fun to hang out with. And I asked her what she did for work, and she said she developed websites. First date, she said she developed websites. Very intelligent. We had great conversation, and we had a good time together, right? So I'm at her house. Again, let me repeat, this is 3 months into it. And she tells me, I need to tell you what I really do for work.
Uh-oh.
I'm trying to remember what her name was. I'll think of it. I forgot her name. And I'm like, what do you do for work? And she's like, I'm a porn star. And I laughed because obviously I didn't believe her. Monica. Monica was her name. So I laughed. I didn't believe her, right? I thought she was just joking. She was just messing with me, right? And then she gave me her porn name. Google it. Let me begin to tell you that when I Googled her name, I saw some of the worst things you want to see when you just kiss somebody. I will leave it at that. It was awful. I was traumatized. I could not believe what I just saw. This girl is basically my girlfriend. I trusted her. And again, you can Google her name now and you can see it's terrible, right? It was bad for somebody that I just kissed. It was horrible.
Numchuck's Googling right now.
Probably,
Look,
probably.
he's on it.
I've already heard the story, so I know her name.
Yeah. So
It auto-populates his Google search already.
Yeah. So I got really upset and I said, look, man, if you just told me from the get-go what you did, maybe this could have worked. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not saying yes, maybe. But the fact that you lied to me is very concerning. And, I don't like people who hide things from other people. I don't need to know everything about you right away, but this is kind of an important thing. And I was grossed out, and
It's kind of an important thing.
she shows up at my job at a radio station here in Vegas the next day. She shows up at my job. So do you know how embarrassing that was for me? Where my program director, I say, "Hey, you got some chick here. She says she knows you," and I'm like, I took
Monica Memories.
I took her out. Yeah, I took her outside. I said, "If you ever do this again, I'm calling the police and I'm going to put a restraining order against you." Anyways, that was the end of that. It turns out this same porn star had some sort of TMZ thing going with Lenny Dykstra, and she apparently had relations with him. And
that's worse than the porn stuff you saw.
Nails. Yeah, Lenny Dykstra.
You slept with Lenny Dykstra?
I know.
Yeah.
That was really brutal. Yeah, that was tough.
If anything, be honest about that. The porn stuff you could probably get over, but
yeah, that was pretty brutal.
Lenny's pretty nasty.
So that was a rough one. All right, I'm going to give you one more. Okay, one more. Plenty of fish. Another plenty of fish. Okay. So I talked to this
Which
girl.
one was the Monica? Which website?
No, that wasn't a website. I met her on Ladies' Night at Blue Martini.
Oh, you met her out in
I
person.
just happened to meet her there, man. I'll say this about her, man. She's really, really pretty. Okay. But
I can tell. Yes, she is.
You've seen pictures.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't give her last name out. But yeah, she's good looking.
It's Australian for beer.
Yeah, she's very pretty.
He's seen what they call the moving pictures.
Yeah.
They called them back in the 30s.
Yeah. That's I try not to look at those pictures because it's tough. But anyway, talk to a girl. Another plenty of fish story. It seems like all my nightmares.
With
are
this
from,
Monica girl, if she had not ended up being a porn star who lied to you about it,
yeah,
you could have seen things progressing.
Yes,
being serious. You liked her that much.
Yes, I did, but I couldn't get over that.
I don't blame you. On that.
I couldn't get over that. But anyway, I talked to this girl on Plenty of Fish on Messenger and on Facebook, but she never wanted to talk to me on the phone. And she's really pretty. We're having great conversations. She's not a guy, as far as I know. And about a month goes by, and I'm like, "Come on, why don't you want to talk to me on the phone?" I said, "How about I just come to your place and we hang out?" I said, "Whoa." I said, "We haven't even met before yet. That's weird. Why do you want to come to my place? That's strange." She's like, "I promise you, I'm not that kind of a girl. Let's just order a pizza and watch TV." And at this point, I'm so curious, and she's convincing me. And I'm like, "Okay, fine." So she enters my luxurious apartment and say hello to her. I give her a hug. She's very pretty, by the way, even more prettier in person. I was impressed. I'm giving her a quick tour of my place. 2 minutes in, she hasn't said one word to me. And I'm like, "Is everything okay? Are you all right?" And she looks at me and she points to her ears. 100% deaf. Doesn't tell me. So at this point, I'm panicking a little bit because I don't know sign language. I don't know what to do. Sit on the couch. I don't even know how to do closed captions on my TV, let alone, sign language. I take a notepad out, because she's not very good at reading lips. She doesn't really talk. So we're writing back and forth to each other. Do you know how weird that was? I've never been in a situation like this before in my life where we're writing. I'm not prepared. She didn't tell me. I wish she did. I would have been still would have met her. I'm writing on a notepad and she's writing on a notepad. That's our date. We're writing back and forth to each other. It was just the dynamic was so strange. It was so weird. Okay. Yes, no.
At least there's always going to be memories of that.
I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that. Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was a little weirded out. It was strange that she didn't tell me and she kept it from me. So listen, very pretty. I did give her a quick little kiss goodnight, and in a way, I felt very bad for her. But I was also a little annoyed that she didn't tell me. That's something you probably should tell somebody before you meet them. That's kind of important. So a friend of mine, male friend, comes over later and we're hanging out and he goes, "So how did your date go?" And I'm like, "I'm glad you asked." Like, what? You can read it if you'd like. It was just so weird and so awkward. And listen, 20 years in Vegas, you've got some stories. Clearly, I have some stories. If you ask me what the best dating website is around, it's not going to be Tinder. It's not going to be Bumble. I find most of those, not all women and men, but a lot of them, it's for hookups.
I'm not into that.
No, I mean, listen, there's always a time and a place, right? But if I'm on a dating website, I'm not necessarily looking for a quick hookup. I'm looking to meet somebody nice, hopefully, and develop into a relationship. You would hope. But I think the websites where you have to actually pay, except for maybe eHarmony, like a Match.com, those type of websites, in my personal opinion, you're meeting a higher quality of people. You know, I think Facebook, believe it or not, is a pretty good tool as well, because if you have a friend of a friend, or you have somebody on your page, and you get to talking to them on Facebook, and you send them messages, I think that's a good way of meeting people too. I just think some of these websites are hookups.
So Match.com is your go-to? Are you on Match.com now?
I'm not on Match.com anymore.
When's the last time you were on there?
A few years back.
Okay,
Few
so
years
this is not a current recommendation.
No, if I had listen, if I had to give a current,
you're going on the free sites right now.
Yeah, I am. But if I had
slumming
to, I guess you could say that.
Yeah. Okay.
But I guess if I had to give a current recommendation now, honestly, I'll be honest with you. My recommendation is just go through your friends on Facebook. Look at their profiles. You see what they do, if they're legit or not. You can see if they're single or not. You can learn a little bit about them. You can send them a message.
So that's how Facebook originated, right?
Right.
Is that it was just like this hookup site at, what was it, Harvard?
Right.
Like, oh, you could see. And the big thing that set it apart from everybody is, are you single? Are you in a relationship? And that was the thing, is like, it just blew up. And they were like, oh, we got to put this on all the universities. And then it was like, no, we need everybody to have that. It was all about single, in a relationship. And then it's complicated, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're right. That's how Facebook kind of started. I still think it's a great tool to meet people, and it's a great tool to friends of friends. You know, you can see if you have any mutual friends right away. The problem with a lot of these dating websites is people can completely lie. I'm not saying people can't lie on Facebook either, but if they have a lot of friends, there's a better chance that they're pretty honest on their Facebook page. You can see them out and about in town. You can see if they're real or not. I just think it's a better way of meeting people, and in my personal opinion, obviously, people don't want to interact with one another.
I'll make sure I warn any Facebook friends of mine that Shap is
Please
out
do.
here stalking all the friend lists.
Stalking the Facebook page. Yeah, make sure to let everybody know. But I think that's people don't want to talk on the phone anymore. They don't want to interact anymore. Everything is social media. Everything, it's weird now. I remember my first girlfriend that I met when I was 16 years old was on a phone dating service. It was like a phone dating thing where it was free. You just leave a message, 30-second message, and then you can, hear other messages. That's how I met my first girlfriend, Sarah, and I dated her for 5 years. It was pretty cute too. And yeah, I was with her for 5 years throughout high school and a little bit of college. And that's how I met her. I met her on a phone dating
And you left your own
service.
30-second little clip on there?
I did. Hey,
What
what's
kind
up?
of what were you saying?
What's up, ladies? This is Brian. 16 years old. I'm a sophomore in high school. I'm a pretty good golfer. And I'm a smart guy. I'm fun to hang out with. Looking to get out and have some fun. Hit me up, ladies. Yeah, it was probably something like that.
You know what we need now? We need the new updated version of that.
Hey guys, this is Brian Shapiro, 16 years old.
No.
That's the updated version.
No. Do the real one.
I'm emotionally 16 years
Yeah.
old.
All right. Hey, this is
Very
Brian.
stunted.
Yeah, exactly. I'm an emotional 16-year-old going on 42. If you like bald Jewish guys, please hit me up. Have a hit radio show in Las Vegas, and I'll bring you into the studio sometime. Come say hello. I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of stupid, but I guess, I don't know. It probably wouldn't be much different than what I did like 25 years ago. It probably wouldn't have changed that much. What would be yours, Thomas? Come on, let's hear it. Put you on the spot right now.
I got to plead the fifth on it.
Oh,
man.
come on,
I gotta
man.
plead the fifth
What
on
do you
that.
mean? You're a hotshot attorney. You're quick-witted. That's why you're such a good attorney in the courtroom.
You're always trying to get me in trouble. on
What do
here,
you
man.
mean
ask
getting
me
you in
these hard-hitting
trouble?
questions.
No, it's not.
If I pause to even deliberate on an answer and consider what I'm saying before it
come
goes out to
on.
the public, all of a
Nonsense.
sudden I've made an admission by omission.
Nonsense. You're pulling a Donald Trump. You're pleading the fifth on me. Now, okay, I'll do one for you. Hi,
It's a great website.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Thomas Moskal. I'm the former top DUI attorney here in Las Vegas, the former DA. I've got a really good
Still
job.
the top DUI attorney.
Yeah, well, that's
I'm on
true.
the defense side.
That's true. I'm very well
Yeah.
dressed. I'm lavishly good looking. I'm extremely intelligent and well spoken. And if you don't believe me, you can listen to me every Tuesday on Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. I'm ready to get out there and mingle, and I'm ready to meet you.
Yeah. Well, the only caveat is no, I am in a relationship. So
okay, I'm sorry to hear that.
I got to put that out there.
Sorry to hear that. My condolences to the lady. I'm sorry. All right. So we got to get things, turn things a little to the serious end here. And, I try to do what I can on this show in all seriousness to help people that are struggling and to help people that are mourning a loss. And this situation is no different. and it's a very sad situation. You might have heard 49-year-old Metro police officer, a 23-year veteran on the force, Truong Thai, lost his life while on the job, domestic violence dispute. It is horrifically tragic. It's terrible. And I want to do what I can to help the family and friends. And Rosalie McDermott Thai is his fiance. I can't imagine what she's been going through the last couple of weeks, but I invited her to come in, talk about his legacy, try to raise money to help the family, and she's nice enough to be here, and she's going to be joining us next. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this with Thomas Moskal, who's sticking around here. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Experience the Artisan Hotel's themed suites, restaurants, bars, pools, and complimentary gala during the week. Quiet Las Vegas retreat that's great for travelers and locals. The weekend is all about nonstop partying and the award-winning Artisan nightlife. All rooms include free gym access and Wi-Fi. The Artisan Hotel is centrally located between the Strip and downtown Las Vegas. Book your stay at artisanhotel.com. The Artisan Hotel, your unique Las Vegas boutique hotel.
The best choice for convenience, comfort, and value, My Place hotels are ideal for both short-term and long-term travelers. The rooms at My Place features pillow-top mattresses, microfiber bedding, and a variety of soft and firm pillows. All extended stay rooms offer their own kitchen, which includes a full-size refrigerator and a cooktop. On-site laundry facilities are also available for extended stays at pet-friendly My Place hotels. Book your stays online at myplacehotels.com. My Place Hotels, St. George and West Jordan, Utah. Make My Place your place.
Coach Harvey Hyde is heard right here on 1400 KSHP North Las Vegas. Online at kshp.com.
All right, welcome back to Pushing Limits on a Tuesday. I'm so glad that you can join us. Throughout the last several years, I've always said this. I've always said, yeah, I'm pro-Black Lives Matter. I'm also pro-police because I believe you can be both. We're so divided. And I've also said every single time I see a police officer, for the most part, officers at a restaurant or even directing traffic, I did this yesterday at the Knights game, I always shake their hand and I always do my best to say thank you so much for what you do. Because I don't think people realize the risk that these heroes, many of them are heroes, these police officers have to do every day to protect and serve. Whenever you're in trouble, whenever you need help, whenever there's an emergency, who do you call? You call the police. And I think we forget about that. And, there's one Metro police officer. Sadly, there are too many officers that lose their lives. One officer is too many. And obviously, Truong Thai was one of them, one of our own here at Metro. He served for 23 years. Since 1999, he's been with Metro, 49 years old. They get a call. It's just another day where he gets a call. My understanding, it's a domestic violence dispute. He's doing his job, doing what he does best as a police officer. And he was shot and sadly lost his life. Yes, the person who pulled the trigger is behind bars now, but it's not going to bring him back. It's a very sad story. It's horrible, but I want to be able to get the word out, and I want to be able to give all the information out as far as the GoFundMe page. I want to help the family. I want to help the friends and do whatever I can, and I'm sure my listeners want to do so as well. His fiance is joining me in studio right now, and I'm very thankful that she is here, and I know it's difficult. I can't even imagine how difficult it is on her. But Rosalie McDermott Thai is joining us right now in studio to talk about Truong. Rosa, I do appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I wish it was under better circumstances. Let's get a little background first from you. How long have you lived here in Las Vegas? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Oh, so like me, you've been here 20 years. What do you do for a living here? Oh, okay, cool. Let's talk about something pleasant if we can to start. The first time you met him, I'm curious. The first time you met Truong, tell me about that.
It was through volleyball. I was coaching a volleyball team, and he coached volleyball as well.
Mhm.
So we just kind of met through there, and then
That's cool.
Just kind of build a friendship through volleyball. I would see him at like the volleyball games and the tournaments and stuff like that.
Isn't that how some of the best relationships are? I feel like I'm not in one right now. There's a lot of reasons for that, but through friendship to start, right? You get to know somebody, you become good friends, and then you get closer to that person, right? Is that kind of what happened?
That's kind of what happened, and then we just started coaching together.
Oh, he coached volleyball too.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
that's
we
cool.
would coach together.
So he's good with kids.
Yeah.
Good with kids.
He's very good with kids. The training came out on him, and he wanted to help the volleyball girls.
And from what I've heard from colleagues that worked with him, is that he was so passionate, not just about his job, but training younger people.
Yes.
Right. Did he talk a lot about his job with you?
Oh, every day.
Really? So I'm just curious, what was like a typical conversation he would have with you? You guys are obviously very close when it came to his policing and what he did for work.
He would just tell me the calls that he went on. And sometimes if I couldn't sleep at night, then I would call him and then he would just have the phone like in his pocket. So I could just listen to like the traffic stops and
really,
yeah. And then if it was something that was a little more,
that's so interesting.
Then he would say, "I'll call you right back."
So he's comforting you and helping you get sleep, and it's fun for you just to hear him on the job. That's so interesting.
listen, he was on the force for 23 years, so I'm sure he was in plenty of dangerous situations. Did he talk to you about that? I mean, I would imagine there were other times in his policing career where his life was very much in jeopardy, right?
Certain things he would tell me, but then certain things he wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know the area for a long time that he worked in, South Central. I didn't know that was the most dangerous area until
around UNLV you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah, it's not the greatest area in the world.
Yeah.
Listen, I think for the most part, I know it's probably hard to say this now after what has taken place. We'll get to that, but I think Vegas is fairly safe. Could it be better? Yes, but I think considering like the lifestyle, 24, it could be worse. It also could be better. No question about it. So he's on the force for 23 years. You've known him for 10 years. A few weeks ago, was it just another regular day? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it was. I had 2 days before that off from my job, and we were talking about going to California for Halloween. Like he was trying to talk me into going to Universal Studios, but I'm scared. Like I don't do scary movies or anything like that. But so he was trying to talk me into it.
Right.
I think he pretty much had talked me into it. And then that night I said, I was like, I'm going to bed because I got to get up early in the morning because I have to open up the store.
A phone conversation?
No, this was
through text?
No, he was at home.
Oh, he was at home. So
Yeah.
you're together. Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
So he was sitting on the couch. He was paying the bills. And I said, well, I'm going to bed because I have to be up early in the morning. And he goes, okay. He goes, and I'm just going to sleep down here on the couch, which is unusual. So I don't wake you up. I told him good night. He said good night. And then I went to bed. And then he didn't wake me up when he left. He usually left around like 9:15 to go to work.
Because he worked the overnight shift.
the
Yeah.
And he didn't wake me up, but that's not unusual either because he knows that if I'm sleeping, he doesn't
Right.
want to. He doesn't want to wake
So
me
everything's
up.
normal. Nothing's out of the ordinary.
Nothing is out of the. I
Right.
sleep with my iPad on like all night. So if I do wake up, I watch a little bit of the iPad,
Right.
and then I go back to sleep.
Gotcha.
But for some reason, it was like 2:00 in the morning, and I just got really restless. I just I'd wake up, iPad still on, and then I just couldn't go back to sleep. I just could not go back to sleep. I played on my phone for a little bit, just still could not go back to sleep.
Is that unusual for you?
No, usually.
Yeah. So sometimes you're
usually-
restless. Yeah.
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 And then I get a knock on my door, like the Ring doorbell.
Mm-hmm.
The dog's going crazy. This is maybe like 3 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the knock on the door didn't wake me up. I was already awake. So 3:00 in the morning, the doorbell rings. The dogs are going crazy. I just ignore it because that's what I was taught to do.
Right.
You don't open the door at 3:00 in the morning.
Of course not. That's unusual. Yeah.
And I looked at my phone and nobody texted me because usually if it's like a friend or something, they would text me and be like, hey, I'm here. Can you open the door? But I wasn't expecting anybody.
Right.
So it just kept ringing, like maybe for like an hour. And then finally I was like, okay, something's going on here. So I called him. It went straight to voicemail, which is not unusual because
He's at work.
And
You're saying your doorbell was ringing for an hour?
well, it wasn't like constantly ringing.
But
Like,
somebody was trying to get
was
to you
trying- yeah, it was-
and you didn't look through the door to see who it was. You didn't.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Mhm.
I just stayed upstairs.
I got
I
you.
mean, like
Understood. Yep.
that was the plan.
I don't blame you. No, I don't blame you. Yeah.
Especially when I'm home by myself. That's
Understood.
The plan. And then so I called him, and he went straight to voicemail. That wasn't a red flag or anything. And so then I texted him.
Yeah.
I said, someone keeps ringing the doorbell. Can you check the Ring cameras? And didn't hear back from him, which again wasn't that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And finally a number kept calling me. And the way my phone is set up, if it's a number that's not pre-programmed or if it's a number that it'll go straight to voicemail.
Right.
So I keep seeing this number calling me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like,
who could it be?
yeah. But I wasn't going to answer it at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And then finally I got a text message, and it said, you know, this is Officer so-and-so. There's been there has been an incident involving your fiance, Officer Thai. Can you please come open the door? At this time, I was like, okay, what happened now? Did he get in a car wreck? Like, did he, you know, hurt himself? Because he has been hurt before.
Right.
He has been hurt, not to where they had to come and knock on my door, but he had to have stitches.
Yeah.
He had there was one incident where he was wrestling with a suspect at one of the hotels, and he somehow flipped or something, and he hit his forehead on the door jamb. So I mean, he's had to have stitches before. He's, you know, so I was just thinking it was like maybe a car wreck or, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
And then they told me they said that he was involved in a officer involved shooting, and that he was taken to the hospital, but he didn't make it.
I'm so sorry. I can't even imagine how difficult that must have been and still is for you. Did you get any explanation or any details? I know that Joe Lombardo, they held a press conference. My understanding is that it was some sort of domestic violence dispute, right?
It was.
What did they tell you, I guess?
That it was a domestic violence dispute, and that he had walked up to the vehicle. And
when you say walk up to the vehicle, the domestic violence dispute was happening in a vehicle? Is that what?
Well, they had, from what I have seen and what they were allowed to tell me was that they had already separated. So two people, like I think it was the mom and the wife were over here.
Right.
And then he was just sitting in the car.
And the wife, I would imagine the wife probably is the one that called police.
I would probably say it was probably the mother-in-law who did.
So Truong,
that's my guess.
So Truong is one of the first officers to respond.
Him and his partner.
Him and his partner.
Yes.
And he just walks up to the vehicle, and the guy just takes out a gun.
So one thing you always have to remember and know about Thai is that he was always willing to help you first. He was always, it wasn't like he would go in there like guns blazing, and he always was like, how can I help you? Let me help you.
De-escalate, which is what a professional and very good police officer is supposed to do.
He was always like, how can I help? Let me help you. You need a cigarette? Let me get you a cigarette. You want some water? Let me get you some water.
Because that's who he was.
Even in his bag, he would carry. I found cigarettes one day in his bag, and they were the cheap kind too. They wasn't very expensive. And I'm like, when did you start smoking? And he was like, he goes, no. He goes, those are for for people who I come in contact with. If they need to smoke, I can give them a smoke. So he was always just very like, let me help you. How can I help you? Let's not elevate this to another level. And I don't know if you guys have seen the body cam footage.
I have not. Have you seen it?
I have seen it. When he walks up to the car, even though, and he's just sitting there, and even when he walked up to the car, Ty was like, "What's going on, buddy? What's going on?" Not like, "What did you do?" Like he was just very calm tone, just like, "What's going on, buddy?" And then he told him to put his hands on the steering wheel, which he did. And then he started to reach across to grab the guns that he had. And then so Ty was trying to restrain him from that. And then the guy took off, and he just kind of, from what I saw, he just kind of reached out, like just pointed it out the window and just started shooting.
So they get into some sort of quick physical altercation when Thai sees the driver in the alleged assault reach for possibly something, a weapon. And he does what a police officer, and by the way, Thai probably would have been in the right to shoot him in that moment. And I think maybe that's a testament to what a good man he was, is he didn't, in his last moments, he didn't want to escalate it to that point. He's trying to get him to stop reaching. Because if a police officer tells you to put your hands on the wheel, you do what the officer tells you to do. And when you don't do that, that's an easy way to get killed yourself, right? So even in his last moments, he was trying to de-escalate. And then as the driver's driving away, you're saying he puts out his gun and starts spraying bullets. And that's when Thai was struck in the chest, right?
He was struck in the torso.
Or in the torso. It's just awful.
Knowing what I know about guns, because I grew up with them, we're a military family.
Yeah.
I know what guns are. I know, and just being with, my fiance being at Metro and was a gun lover himself.
Right.
I knew, and as soon as I saw what kind of, I can't remember what kind of gun he had, but I remember I
assault weapon?
Yeah, and it wouldn't have mattered if he had gotten hit in his vest or anything.
I don't want to make this into like a gun issue, but I guess I will ask you this, because I've been very strong advocate of getting assault weapons off the streets. I think people like Thai are the ones that need those types of weapons. I do not believe those types of weapons should be sold to the general public, criminal or not. I have always been a strong advocate for an assault weapons ban. And listen, I don't know if Thai would still be alive today if the driver, that criminal, that scumbag, that murderer, if he had a pistol. I don't know. But what I will say is, and I'm not trying to make this political, I'm just talking about guns in general, I don't think those guns should be on the streets. I don't know how you feel about that.
I feel the same way. And
Yeah.
we both felt the same way.
And Thai did too. I don't know if this was a gun that was purchased legally or illegally. Guess what? I don't care. They shouldn't be out there on the streets. Heroes should have those types of weapons. Our brave men and women in uniform, police officers. For people that didn't know Truong Thai, you knew him just about better than anybody, right? You lived with him for how long?
7 years.
7 years. How do you want people to remember him as? For people that never became in contact with him.
I do have to start off and thank the community. They really came out and supported him. Just from the candlelight visual and, things that I see that are being posted on Facebook and everything like that. So I do want to thank the community for coming out and supporting him, because he supported you guys every day.
Yeah.
He was very passionate about his job. He got up every day and walked out that door without hesitation. Loved his job so much that he was working 6 days a week.
Wow. 6 days a week. So he was,
6 days a
to
week.
say he was dedicated would be an understatement,
Yes.
right? He loved his job.
He loved his job. And for being a 23-year Metro police officer, he has done pretty much everything. But because of who he was, he could have had any position that he wanted.
Right,
He could have
right.
gone to any station, but he specifically chose South Central and
Yeah.
chose that area to work in because he knew that that community needed help the most.
Right. And maybe the media is part of the problem. Maybe even I'm a part of the problem. I try to recognize heroic officers as well when I can, but maybe the media, emphasizes too much on bad cops, right? I mean, George Floyd thing. I mean, for example, I'm sure he wanted bad cops off the streets as well. And I'm sure he had conversations with you about that. But I also believe that there are police officers out there that deserve to be recognized for being heroes as well. Did he? What's his education background? I'm just curious. What did he go to college or
No, he didn't.
high school and
just high school, and then
just always wanted to be a cop, huh?
yeah.
It's interesting. Why is that? Did he talk to you about that?
Because he's just very protective, and he felt like, okay, what can I do that I'm able to protect people? And
That's heroic.
And train people and train people to see those red flags, and if it's anything that he could train you about. And he was so passionate about the training is that he would go on his own and go to like these training seminars and stuff like that, and then come back and and teach it. And that's what we did for volleyball as well. So it wasn't just for
that's admirable.
The police department. It was he just always wanted to be learning, and he always just wanted to be able to teach people.
His family, besides you, my understanding is he has a 19-year-old daughter, right? Any other family here in town that you know
I
of?
believe his dad's here.
Wow, so his dad is here as well. Any interaction with the daughter? I mean, did you have a relationship?
Yeah, we had a pretty good relationship.
Have you guys talked since?
We have not. I'm just kind of letting her have her time. I did reach out to her through text and said, I'm always here if you need me.
That's nice of you.
Just a phone call or a text message away. And she said, I know. And so
that's nice.
I told her if she ever needed me for anything,
of course,
please don't hesitate to call.
That's nice. I want people listening to be able to help as well. Even people that didn't know Thai. I want people to be able to help. Do you have any of that information? The GoFundMe page. How can people get involved, and how can people help the family get through this difficult time?
The GoFundMe is going to be under Help Officer Thai's family. It's two of my friends who put it up there for me. Just because he was the sole provider of our house. He did everything, which in hindsight, maybe I should have been paying a little bit more attention on how to do, on how to do things and stuff.
He just wanted to take care of people, including the people that he loved. Again, another admirable quality.
Yes.
This might be a difficult question for you to answer, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. But the person who took his life, you may have a moment in the courtroom where you'll be able to face him and say something to him and make a statement. I know it's kind of early now, and it's still, I can't imagine how difficult it is to process everything. If you did get that opportunity, what would you say to him?
Well, of course, I think everybody would expect me to yell and scream and get angry and get mad. But I think what Thai would want me to do, I think he would want me to say, you know what? It's okay.
Really?
It's okay.
That's what he would want you to do. Wow. Well, I don't know what your thoughts are on, punishment wise. I would imagine he's probably going to be spending decades and decades behind bars. What do you think should happen?
Well, as any other officer who has been shot and killed, we always took the stance of death penalty.
I'm with you on that, by the way. I'm pro death penalty, especially in a case like this. You kill a police officer.
Exactly.
Especially when there is 100% evidence that he did it and nobody else did.
I just don't, I guess the part is like, I'm just kind of trying to understand is that, you know what? You took the suspect took a situation to where Thai would have done anything to help him. He may have, I don't really know how the legal, how it works, but he may have only been like a a misdemeanor or
Well, that's another
or
thing, right?
something.
We're
But
talking about,
now-
yeah,
But now you took something that was this big
right.
and you made it this big.
I don't know if he put his hands on his woman, but if he was willing to take out a gun and shoot a police officer and kill a police officer, I would be willing to assume he probably put his hands on this woman. Could he have spent a year or two in jail? Perhaps. Could he have gotten probation? Perhaps. He could have gotten help. Could have had his whole life ahead of him. I don't feel bad for him at all. The person I feel for are people like you. And of course, Truong, 49 years old, is so young. He was so young. And I would imagine he probably would have been on the force for much longer.
Well, there was no talk of
Retirement.
There was.
He
no
was so
talk of it.
dedicated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So dedicated to what he does. People don't realize how difficult it is to be a police officer. That's why I have the utmost respect for police officers. While there are some bad cops out there, I always try to tell people, if you think a cop is doing you wrong, in that moment, you have to do what they tell you to do. And I think too many people, too many parents, too many young people do not know how to behave in front of an officer.
And it's not only that, I totally agree with what you're saying, but you also need to stop and think about their families, because we allow them to do the job that they want to do.
Right.
We allow them to sign up knowing that every single day he may not come home.
Right.
And having those scared moments where I can't sleep at night because I'm nervous something's going to happen.
Yeah.
But knowing, that's us. That's what we have to put up on a daily basis.
Of course, it's not just the police officer that has to deal with the stress. And by the way, that's another story. I don't think there's enough counseling for police officers. I don't think there's enough support systems in place for officers. I talked to Kevin McCahill about this, who's going to be the next sheriff. Great guy. I like Kevin a lot. And he said when he becomes sheriff, it's incredible. You could, I guess incredible is a bad word, but a police officer can literally see a horrible, heinous crime. It could be a sexual assault or maybe a car accident with a bunch of dead bodies. And then an hour later, they're right back in their squad car. That's not right. That can't happen. There has to be things put in place to help these officers to an extent deal with the things Kevin's going to address that, because that's bad. Police officers see a lot of bad things every day, type of things that you and I don't see. And so I'm with you on that. Has Metro reached out to you? Has anyone reached out to the family as far as counseling, or have they reached out to try to help you in any way, shape, or form?
Well, that's the thing, is that we kept our life so very private, just because, we weren't even friends on Facebook or anything like that.
Right.
Just because he goes, I'm already a target every single day. He goes, but.
Why do you say that?
Well, because of his job.
So you think you were a target?
No, I don't feel like I was a target.
Oh, okay.
But the reason why we kept our relationship very private,
because of his job, right?
Because of his job.
I understand. Yeah.
That's how protective he was.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't want you to become a target as well. So that's
Isn't that sad?
That's why we kept our lives very private. Not very many people knew that.
That's really sad.
That I exist, or that
right.
But that I was even his fiance, because we just didn't tell a whole lot of people, because we just wanted to keep it very, very private.
That needs to change. I understand why he did that, because he was being protective and being a good person and caring about the people he loved, which is great. It's a great quality, but that needs to change. Police officers should not have to feel like they are targets every day. That's wrong. And I don't know how. It's not going to change overnight. Maybe the relationship between officers and citizens needs to improve, and we need to figure out ways to make it better. But a police officer should not have to get in his car and come home and tell his family that he feels like a target every day. That gets me really angry. And you know what? He's right. I can understand why he feels that way. There's so much hatred towards police. I don't like bad cops, but I say every day, the overwhelming majority of police officers, like Thai, heroes. They take their job very seriously. They're professional. And again, unfortunately, in the media, we always hear about the bad cops, but I think we need to hear more about the good cops too. And obviously, Truong was one of those heroes, and he ended up risking his life and took his own life doing what he loved to do best, and that was right, to protect and serve the community. Can you give out that information again? How can people get involved to help the family and get through this difficult time? I want people to hear it.
The GoFundMe account is going to be under Help Officer Thai's family. Like I said, it's just just a really bad situation.
Mhm.
I hope nobody else.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will, but I hope nobody else
Yeah.
has to go through this. But just know that you know, just know that he loved his city, he loved his job, and he would have done anything, and he did do everything that he could.
Yeah, he risked everything for what he stood for, which was protecting people, right?
Yes.
Sounds to me his whole life, even probably before he was a police officer. It's just a great quality that not everybody has. And he had it, whether it was protecting you or other members of his family or the community. And I'm so sorry for your loss. It breaks my heart. When I heard this story, it horrible. And I remember interviewing the wife of a fallen officer 10 years ago. I was telling you off the air, the two officers who were shot and killed at a pizza parlor, and they had a young child, and they're just sitting there in a restaurant, and then boom, their life is over because of madmen. It's just, life is precious, right? And all we can do is tell the people we love that we love them every day. And I guess if there's one good thing to take from it is that, yes, it's horrible that he lost his life, but at least he was doing what he loved to do. And in his final seconds of his life, he was protecting the community. And that's something to always be thankful for. And he will always be a hero. And if there's anything else I can do to help you or the family, please let me know and please reach out. And I'll gladly do that. I do appreciate you coming in under these difficult situation, Rosalie. But like I said, if there's anything else we can do for you, please let me know.
Thank
I
you.
do appreciate you coming in and sharing those personal stories. It means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to the listeners. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, that is Rosalie. I'm going to put out that GoFundMe information on our social media so people can get involved with it. And I know I will. I'll be making a donation to help the family, and I hope all of you will as well. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Shopping is always easy with the Radio Shopping Show. Whether it's shopping during any one of our live shows right here on AM 1400 or listening live on the KSHP app, you can always call in at 702-221-7283 to pick up great deals with your favorite host. Or shop 24/7 at kshp.com. Go to kshp.com and select Shopper's Guide to browse hundreds of businesses featured on the show. Place your order online and we'll have it shipped right to your front door. With so many possibilities, it's hard not to shop.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. I want to tell you guys about my favorite team, which is Jackson's Barn Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. It is Tuesday today. Tuesdays and Sundays in October. That means you go to Jackson's, you get 200 points while playing the slot machines, as I enjoy playing from time to time. I dabble. You get $50 in free slot plays. Some restrictions do apply. Please check them out. Love Jackson's Barn Grill. Great food, great atmosphere. A really cool local bar, and certainly my favorite in town, Jackson's Barn Grill. Please check it out. Tell them I sent you. Thomas Moskal joining us back in studio. Thomas, it's always difficult when I do interviews like that. Sadly, I've done plenty of interviews like that. I don't know if you remember the showgirl who was cut up. She was a showgirl dancer at the Luxor. The person who killed her named Jason Griffith, I believe. I covered that story, and that was a very emotional story for me because I became close to her sister, who I still talk to, Celeste Narvaez, and just a beautiful woman who latched on to this horrible boyfriend who was abusive to her. And some women and men, they stay in these abusive relationships, ended up killing her, and that was a very emotional story for me. I remember because I was a reporter. I have a news background, right, Thomas? And 10 years I was a reporter for CBS. I did national stories for them. The Henderson ice cream truck shooting, officer-involved shooting, another very difficult story for me. You had 2 immigrants, wife and husband, good people, good family. And the husband was pulled over by a police officer for, I don't know, something minor, traffic violation. The wife shows up, and she was behaving a little erratically. Cops claim, this is when we had the coroner's inquest, cops claim that she had a knife in her hand when a cop shot and killed her. Yet I spoke to witnesses that were there that said they did not see a knife in her hand. And I was told, stop talking to the witnesses outside the courtroom. Some cops said, stop talking to the witnesses. I told them to screw off. That's what I told them. I wasn't breaking the law. I'm a reporter. I'm allowed to ask questions. I told them to screw off. And then he took the witnesses back inside. And I spoke to witnesses that said she didn't have a knife. And a cop killed her. And that officer was not held accountable. That was a very difficult case for me to cover because I spoke to the husband who was grieving. He lost his wife. That's another case that comes to mind for me that was very emotional for me. And then the Cirque du Soleil dancer. This had nothing to do with law enforcement. Cirque du Soleil dancer. This was about maybe 8 or 9 years ago, and she fell and died and had kids, and I had to speak to members of her family. Very, very difficult. Sadly, when you're a reporter, you don't have to deal with anything that cops have to deal with, but I've been on the scene of very horrible crimes and car accidents, and you never forget it. I don't forget that stuff. I've seen dead bodies. I've been on the scene of car accidents and covering cases, and as I'm sure you've seen some pretty bad stuff in your career also, and it's just
a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you have to just because you're
toll on me.
Right. Just because you're not on the scene, you have to investigate. You look at pictures. You look at evidence.
You talk to the families. You talk to the victims. You talk. I mean, it's everything. It took its toll on me. It's one of the reasons why I left prosecution.
Yeah.
I needed
You
a
and me
break.
both. You and me both.
I needed a break.
You and me both. Sadly, we have that in common. I mean, I'm an opinionated guy. But,
something you said earlier about not having systems in place to address that trauma that officers and their families go through. The same thing with attorneys and the prosecutors. Like, there's no. I mean, they give us a little bit of mental health and go for walks, try and get out in nature, do some breathing, some meditation. But it's like, no, I mean, this kind of trauma, you get it vicariously and it takes its toll on a person. And, I don't know how those guys do it for 25, 30 years, but after I did it for 7, I could feel my body needed a break. And that's why I told you sometimes I don't even turn the news on because I've already seen so much of it. And I can't tune into.
No,
it.
it's a good point, and you guys need it as well. Whether you're an attorney or a firefighter, for God's sakes.
Yeah, but
you know,
attorneys are kind of overlooked because they go, "Oh, you're not on the scene."
doesn't matter. You
But
have
it's
to
like,
look at some horrible stuff.
yeah, when you have to talk to everybody involved and you
Right.
feel what they're going through,
Yeah.
and then God forbid there's a little injustice going on in the system. Like I said, a misdemeanor DUI could take 2 or 3 years. Think about a murder case could go on for 7 years, and you're completely dealing with this family who's wondering why is it taking so long?
And there's nothing you can do.
And then issues come up. Oh, we're having problems with the case, but the cops did this wrong, did that wrong. And
Right.
it's never the cops that have to talk to those people. It's the prosecutor who has to make that phone call.
Yeah. No, listen, there's a lot of different occupations that get overlooked when it comes to this sort of thing. And I'm with you 100%. And it doesn't really matter what occupation you are and what you do. People react to things differently, and there's nothing wrong with seeking help and speaking to somebody. It's one of my regrets is when I was 12 years old, I was in a very serious car accident. I lost my grandmother. I think about her every single day. Even yesterday, I was reading an article about the car accident that was when I was 12 years old. We're talking 30 years ago. It's still in my mind every day. But I never really talked to anybody about that, and it probably would have helped me in life if I did. There's nothing shameful about talking to somebody. I'm talking about a professional, not just a family member or a friend. I'm talking about it's good to talk to friends about your issues too. That's a good thing. But yeah, people need to get help. And I find it problematic and very troubling that Metro Police has not reached out, as far as I know, to this family for counseling. I find it very, very problematic that these officers are not getting, in my personal opinion, the mental care that they need. Again, Kevin McMahill was in studio, and I agree with. I think he's going to be a very good sheriff. I like Kevin a lot, and he made a very good point. He's like, "Listen, my biggest issue is a cop could show up on the scene of a crime, and someone could have just been raped. Could be a little girl, God forbid, and you have to deal with that. You have to see that, and you have to, you could be dealing with body parts. I hate to be graphic, but I'm going to be honest. Body parts all over the road. I remember." If you recall this car accident on Spring Mountain, it was a guy that was high on marijuana into a bus stop on Spring Mountain. This was maybe 8 years ago. I don't know. There were body parts all over the road.
I specialized in those kind of cases. I've seen all
what I'm
kinds of
talking about.
dismemberment, disfigured people, dismembered body parts laying strewn all across the road. I see it all the time.
And that's not normal for a human being to see. That is not a normal thing. You don't just look at that like it's a movie. We're not talking about a movie. We're talking about real life. This is a human being that just lost their life. When somebody sees something like that, they might appear to be okay, but they're not. You need to talk to somebody about that. And when a police officer who is on the job sees something like that, and then 30 minutes later, maybe they're on to the next thing. That's not how policing should work.
It's not, but there's how it should be and how it really is. And the fact is, we don't even have enough officers right now to police Las Vegas as it is. So everything they see leads to some kind of stress spike. And so if you're going to give them a certain amount of time off just because they saw something traumatic out there, we are lacking the appropriate number of officers on the streets as we're speaking right now. And so it all comes down to resources, what we're dealing with as a community. And in a perfect world, things would operate that way. But I'm telling you right now, we don't have enough officers even policing right now. If you called Metro right now and said your house got broken into, if you don't say the intruder's in your house right now, 3-day response time. I mean, that's how little resources they have to devote to stuff. And
so to me,
those
there's
cops,
ways
they're running on pencil. What do they call it? Pencil fumes.
There's ways to fix this. It's not going to be easy. Now, I've said, and you might disagree with me on this, I've said that I believe police officers need to have some sort of degree. I'm not saying they have to go to college forever, but maybe some sort of degree in law. I know they have to go. So
I mean, college is a money trap already. I mean, people don't even need to. As far as I'm concerned, it's unless you're going for a professional degree, like I have a law degree, or you want to be an engineer.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to do radio for a living, your best bet is not to go to college for radio.
Probably.
There's a much better ways to get your experience.
Probably.
And if you want to go into law enforcement or military, going to college for 4 years and putting yourself in that kind of debt, insane.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I'll address that. But I will also say, being a radio host, I don't have the type of power that a police officer has. It's a lot of responsibility, a lot of power, and I understand that there's also a lot of training.
But what does college degree and putting yourself in debt for 4 years have to do with you handling your power?
Because I'll tell you why. I don't believe, listen, overwhelming majority of cops are heroes. I say that all the time. but I do believe you need some sort of degree in help in communication. I think some officers, what they lack, maybe not intelligence, certainly they're heroes. I think what a lot of officers that I think lack doesn't mean they're not good people, doesn't mean they're not there to do good. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what I think a lot of officers lack is communication skills, learning how to communicate in situations. And I know that's part of the training, de-escalation. I get all that. I'm not even saying a college degree, maybe that's the wrong thing to say. Take some courses, communications courses. I want to make sure that if you're going to become a police officer, you know how to talk to people, all sorts of different people. Obviously, it wouldn't have saved this officer's life. He did everything right, and it's horrible.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you that he did everything right. You know, I'm not saying he did anything wrong, but he tried to do what you were saying.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, we talk about officers who were like, oh, they
You think
they
he
pulled the
should've just
trigger.
shot him?
No,
Yeah.
I'm not saying he should have just shot him.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're trying to de-escalate. So you walk up to a situation, you're not really clear on what's going on or how dangerous this person is. And you're
Right.
going, hey, buddy, let me talk to you really quick. When there's officers out there who take the different approach, who as soon as they got out of the car, domestic violence dispute, that guy's sitting in a vehicle. I don't know what he has in that vehicle. I'm already drawing my pistol from afar. Me and my partner are taking diametrically opposed viewpoints, and we have our guns drawn, and we are yelling commands. Get out of the car, put your hands on the wheel. And as soon as they see a furtive movement, boom, 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 boom. And you see that, and then the media jumps all over and goes, how could the officers do it? And you know why they do it? Because they're high strung for the exact reasons you're talking about.
I don't disagree.
That not only are they seeing in training that these things happen during routine traffic stops, you don't know who you're dealing with, but they also are out on the street, like you said. Traumatic experience after traumatic experience after traumatic experience.
Yeah.
Friends of theirs are shot. They're on high alert, and they need to be on high alert because the moment you go in and you're with the wrong guy, he's mentally unstable, you go up and you try and de-escalate and you're not ready to actually use deadly force right away, then these kind of things happen, you know? And so I'm not saying he did anything wrong, but I see why officers come into a situation and they are on high alert, right?
I don't disagree with you. Obviously, and again, I don't know the proper procedures here, but obviously, if you knew this was going to happen, you knew this guy was this dangerous, don't even get out of your police vehicle. You tell them to get out of their car, or you get out of your vehicle with guns pointed. I think the biggest mistake that he made, and I hate to use as a mistake, is I think he was doing what he did his whole life and trying to de-escalate and not make things worse. But when the guy reaches for something, he would have been well within his right to shoot him, even if he's not reaching for a gun. When you tell somebody to put their hands on a steering wheel, and
but how often have we seen where officers go, I felt like he was reaching for something, and then they get crucified in the media because what he was reaching for was a cell phone.
Thomas, because sometimes they're lying. That's why. Sometimes they're lying. I'm with you. If somebody has their hands on a steering wheel, even if they're nervous, you do what the officer tells you to do. I mean, I remember there was a horrible case. This happened in Arizona, where I think a guy was shooting a BB gun outside a window, showing off to his girlfriend. And then they have him put his hands on his head and he's on his knees, and they're at proper procedure, and he's walking towards the cop. His pants are falling down. The cop clearly says over and over again, I understand this kid was nervous. I get that. It's a horrible story. But the cop says, keep your hands on your head. If your hands drop on the ground, I'm going to shoot you. His hands are on his head. His pants were falling down. He drops down and grabs to his pants. The cop shoots and kills him. Horrible situation. Terrible. The kid didn't deserve to die. However, I hate to defend the officer, but you kind of have to. When somebody tells you to put their hands up, Philando Castillo is another example. Horrible situation. This was a guy who worked at a school, didn't have a criminal record. Great guy. He tells the officer he has a gun. Okay, legal gun, by the way. And then the officer says, don't reach for anything. And then he reaches. What do you want that officer to do? Wait until he gets shot? Philando Castillo's situation was terrible. I feel horrible for him, but he made a mistake. And then that officer was chastised. I'm with you. I defend officers. You have to do what the officer tells you to do. Now, there are some circumstances, right? If a guy just reaches into his pocket, you don't just shoot anybody. That's not what I'm saying. But if it's a traffic stop or something and an officer tells you don't reach and you reach, what do you want the officer to do? Just wait? I mean, it's a tough situation because you're nervous. I get it. Your heart's beating fast. You're nervous.
So the officer, the suspect.
Both.
Exactly.
Both people are nervous. I get that, but it's the officer's job to be professional. That's his job. But don't reach and just do what the officer tells you to do. And I know it's easier said than done. And I know as a white person saying this, black people don't want to hear this. And I understand that. And I understand why. But you cannot convince me, no matter what the color of your skin is, that you should disobey an officer's order. That is stupid. I don't know what else to tell you. If an officer tells you to put your hands up, you put your hands up, whether you think they're right or wrong. You don't attack a police officer. You don't flee from a police officer. I'm not saying if you flee from a cop on foot, you deserve to be shot in the back. That's not what I'm saying. But you do what an officer tells you to do. And if you think you were treated unfairly, then you hire somebody like Thomas Moskal or an attorney in general and find out if your rights were broken. Many, almost all, not all, but almost all of these officer-involved shootings are because of not complying with the officer. Now, Derek Chauvin is a different situation. Even though there was non-compliance there, at the time where he died, a knee was on his neck for 8 minutes. That's why Chauvin was prosecuted for murder. I will also say that if George Floyd complied from the beginning, maybe he doesn't get himself in that situation. Regardless, Chauvin's a murderer. I'm not defending Chauvin. That's all I'm saying. I know I went on a little diatribe there, but people need to comply. As much as police officers need to be professional and de-escalate, you need to comply. When you don't comply with an officer, you're giving an opportunity for bad cops to do bad things, and you're also giving an opportunity for good cops to use deadly force if necessary. I don't really know what else way to put it. There's an attitude by millennials, especially young people now. Don't comply with police. F the police. That's not smart. You're going to get yourself killed. It goes both ways. Do what the officers tell you to do, and officers need to also be professional and de-escalate. And if we can get to that point, we're not going to see a lot of these officer-involved shootings anymore. There'll still be some, but we're going to see less of them. We also need to teach people how to behave in front of police officers. That's my statement. I don't know if you disagree with any of that, but that's how I feel.
No, I mean, a lot of it resonates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, there's a lot of hate. Yeah, but this guy was a good cop. He was a good man, and it gets me very angry.
Well, I'll tell you this. One of the most dangerous things that officers know whenever they respond to a domestic violence dispute, it's one of the most dangerous things that you can respond to because emotions are running high. You don't know what kind of situation you're getting yourself into. You don't know if people are armed. At the same time, domestic violence disputes a lot of times are the most innocent kind of things that you're responding to. Sometimes so you never know what situation you're walking into.
It's there's no question. We're running out of time here. No, I agree with you. You never know who you're going to run into and how mentally ill they are. And you're right. You're absolutely right. Anyway, my thoughts go out to the Thai family, friend's family. Obviously a great man, a hero, and do whatever we can to help. And I'm going to post that stuff on social media so we can get involved. Thomas, I always appreciate it. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. We didn't even get to really dive into the Brittany Griner stuff, but I'm sure there'll be new developments next week when you come in next week. But good to see you. Appreciate you being here, and see you next week.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Tomorrow on the show, Michelle Mortensen. Oh, always fun when she comes in. Did you see that Ron DeSantis debate last night? Oh, my God. We're going to get into that tomorrow with her. She's a big Ron DeSantis fan. Boy, what a clown. Anyway, we'll get into that tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great day.